I've mained Vine Staff over a year now, and one of the most common issues I see among Vine players is that they do not know how to aim their E and Q right, leaving an already vulnerable character even more vulnerable than she needs to be. Vine E, Q, and even her primary are all atypical projectiles, in that they spawn offset from Vine Staff once cast, and move diagonally in toward where you're aiming. While this causes all sorts of Vine exclusive trouble, there's a main rule which these projectiles all follow. Once cast, these projectiles arc inward toward your cursor, meeting your cursor once they reach the surface or piece of collision you're aiming at. The reason this is so important is because fighters lack any collision in game, meaning you cannot aim at the player you want to hit, but instead have to aim at the ground the player will be at after the projectile has traveled its distance. This more or less makes learning to aim Vine E and Q its own learned skill, and if you want to read up on some of the methods, go check out the Vine guide, which goes over some tricks to hit direct E more often. But conceptual stuff out of the way, I need to talk how it actually works in practice. Since Vine specials need to be aimed at the floor to be accurately hit, any character who is simply jumping virtually guarantees that they will, at the very least, not be hit by all three direct projectiles under most circumstances. This winds up making the damage output from them very inconsistent if you aren't aiming at Fatty 2x4, whose sole purpose is to eat endless projectiles. Needing to aim at the ground also makes close combat difficult, as the spot near you that you have to aim to hit directs constantly changes. And because the projectiles start from around you, there's a perfect blind spot which sits directly in front of you. While Q can be hit on aerial opponents by knowing to aim slightly right, this makes hitting direct E in air not an option, and if you try, you'll likely hit one direct max. Her projectile spawning offset from her body also means that Vine Staff is drastically hindered in her ability to peek, since half the projectiles she shoots will path directly into walls if you don't have a relatively open area to shoot them. This makes it much harder to use offensively, so it's better left for defense in most scenarios. There are some small quirks about these moves, such as weird interactions with slopes, and the occasional Q hitting but not registering, but these issues are few and far between.